going live in 5 minutes to talk about search engine optimization, a really deep dive on all things SEO, and a big history. We've got a special guest to talk about that today. Look forward to this. Looks like my mic was muted. Sorry, guys. My name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. In today's podcast, we have a special guest. We're going to talk all things search engine optimization. So I'm going to bring in our guest. He is going incognito for our interview today, and is going to talk some history about SEO. So excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be here. I love being the guest on podcasts. It's kind of like it's kind of my favorite thing because there's none of the pressure, of like, what questions do I want to ask? Where do I want this to go?
Well, the pressure is definitely on you. So first of all, it's just so people who are watching this, why are you going incognito today? Because people are going to ask that.
Well, I'd say the main reason that I'm going incognito today, first of all, is because I have a business partner and I haven't asked his permission to be able to be here. We've been partners for 15 years. We've had 14 businesses together.
That's a lot.
There is no way on earth that I would ever have made it in SEO without a partner to talk to riff with, to remind me of things that I've failed at, things that I've already tried 19 times. Like, you've already tried that like 15 times and it didn't work the other 14. So why are you doing it again? So I don't know. Do you ever have a partner in crime for what you guys do?
So I've never taken a partner on for my Amazon guy. I've taken one product-based partner on before, and it didn't work out. We both had, I was all gas, he was all brake, and that's not a really good partnership unless you take turns with the gas. So with that in mind, so let's tee up our topic today for SEO. So qualify us as you being an expert here. What kind of experience do you have in SEO?
So I will, to qualify it, I started doing SEO in probably late 2008, just as the financial markets were kind of crashing. I started working out originally in the yellow pages, the online yellow pages industry, and was working for a company called Reach Local, and actually was with them when they went public. They were a pay-per-click company. So I got to really see the inside of like when a lot of these architectures were built, like foundationally. I was actually kind of present in that from the pay-per-click space. And then once you understand kind of what Google wanted or what search engines wanted from you, it kind of made sense. We'll get to this later, but in 2012, Google released its Panda and Penguin algorithms. Those algorithms reshaped the entire internet in ways that I don't even think that Google fully knew what was going to happen. But after that, we moved over to Amazon. Actually, we tried everything. We moved over to Amazon, Bing. That's still a thing. Yahoo, eBay, everything. And then we've just been building on Amazon, building on chain on Amazon for about 10 years.
So SEO has been part of your success then, is what you're trying to say, throughout your 15 businesses?
Yeah. And every time I try to get away from SEO, it never scales correctly. There is nothing as intoxicating as the concept of a win organically. I mean, that day that you get that first win and you get those first 15 or 20 sales and they come out of nowhere, and it didn't happen on accident, that it came from doing just a ton of work, and all of a sudden it's like, boom. And that moment when you sell your first product is like, you see into the future. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember August 11th, 2011 at 1:13 in the afternoon, I sold my very first product online. That wasn't like SEO as a service, right? I had been doing SEO as like for service businesses. I never sold a product. And when I sold that one product, I called my partner and I said, dude, I just sold one. I know I can sell 1,000. And it was on. And and it was just, it was literally on from that day. It was like, we knew it was possible.
Quite the timestamp to remember something like that. All right, we got a few people checking in with us. William, morning to you as well. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia area, so it's just turned noon in my neck of the woods. Daniel says, hi, everyone. DK Kim, good morning, everybody, as well. You guys must all be on the West Coast or somewhere else. All right, so Mr. Old SEO Guy, you got your first sale online, and it led to a chain reaction. So talk to me in general about some of the big events in your SEO life, career, passion.
Sure. So as I was working in this office, selling kind of the online directories, there was this guy in the office who always made his quota but never sold anything. And could never figure out how on earth he was closing these massive deals. We're talking like, if the average guy was selling $2,000 a month in monthly billing, he was selling like $11,000 a month in monthly billing. I couldn't figure out, like, what is this guy doing? And then eventually it turned out that he wasn't actually selling the product. What he was selling was search engine optimization, but he needed the corporate structure because he had such a bad gambling addiction that it was the only way he could maintain his business. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. The only way he could maintain his business was to, like, basically he needed the salary coming in, and then he would basically spend all the money that he made in commission. But so what I started noticing was that he was doing search engine optimization, and I was 23 at the time. So I just said, how do you do this? And I already knew how to, like, build websites. I think I had hacked a copy of Photoshop CS2. I don't know if that's a thing. And now we all have, like, online services, but back then you had to actually, like, hack a copy of one of these things because I was too broke to buy one. Right.
Yeah. I mean, multi-$1,000 softwares, right? Yeah.
Oh, dude, I remember one day I think I hacked like $8,000 worth of software. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know how to use it, but, like, anyway, so yeah, so I took that. He had this janitorial website, actually. And so a few months later, I had quit the business and I moved, and I remembered this janitorial site. And so I actually copied the code, right? And just pasted his code and just changed the geo on everything and the area code and stuff. And I think within 2 days, I ranked number 7 in Google for, like, janitorial service Phoenix, like, massive area, right? Huge DMA, designated marketing area, for all you guys who don't know that. Anyways, so then I learned about backlinking, and then I just tried to get every link that he got. And before I knew it, I was making, I don't know, $6-7 grand a month doing janitorial work and working 3 nights a week for 6 hours. And then really what happened is I wanted to get deeper into it. My passion was really the 4-hour work week. I'd read the 4-hour work week and I was on it.
But by the way, since our conversation last week, I picked it up and I went through the 4-hour work week. Yeah. So I think we have a little bit of an audio delay with you, by the way. So I listened to about 2/3 of the book of the 4-hour work week and picked up some fun things. It was funny. He spent 20 minutes in that book talking about how to schedule appointments. And I was like, Calendly was the solution that he was seeking back then.
100%. Absolutely 100%. I mean, everything that he wanted back then is all here now. Yeah, it's funny though, but what wound up happening was that I needed more projects. So I wound up going out and selling and getting 4 SEO clients. And what I did was I went to 4 different people and I said, hey, if you all give me $1,500 a month each in 1 year, you'll have an SEO guy. Because back then you couldn't trust anybody to do it. You know what I mean? You either were homegrown, but there was no SEO companies. I mean, there still aren't any great ones,
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of them in India, though.
Yeah, right.
All right. So give me like the big events of the history of SEO, right? So we've qualified you as the old SEO guy. You were pounding the pavement, Yellow Pages style back in the day, and you copied some sites and learned about backlinks. So like, give me some, like, threshold dates of, like, when big things happen in SEO and, like, what were the implications of those?
Yeah. So the biggest shift in SEO, yeah. So back in the day when Google instituted anchor text, right, which is the process of linking a title to a page that actually has good content. So you're trying to rank for, say, janitorial service Phoenix, right? So you would include that as the title of the text, and it would link over to your page. And then you keep doing that, and eventually the search engines will see that you're you're being linked to correctly. Now, this was all well and good up until 2011. So what happened in 2011, 2012, Google decided to change its power structure from being keyword based to being predictive. And what that means is that what they were trying to do is they were trying to predict, not if you said janitorial service Phoenix, but if you said like everything except for those words. So we call that semantic co-occurrence.
Yeah, like my toilet's clogged, I need help. Well, you probably need janitorial service Phoenix, right?
Correct.
That kind of thing.
So yeah, so you'd have a page that would be, my toilet is clogged, I need monthly maintenance. I want to have green cleaning. And so I would, on my page, you say every single word except for that. So in the actual patent, if you go back and read the patents, so that's what I wound up having to do, was go through Google and read every single patent.
Great literature in the bathroom, you know, reading patents.
Dude, it was like Beautiful Mind, man. I had these things like lined up on the walls, you know, and like strings running to them. I had to learn how to speak Google patent lawyer, which took forever. But essentially in the patent, it says, okay, we want to rank for ping pong. So what we're going to say is green, ball, white lines, net. But we're not, but then if you say the word table, it's ping pong. But if you say the word court, it's tennis, right? So there you go. So once you realize that Google was trying to shift to say, look, we know that the person will be happy when they get to this page because it has everything that they're going to want to know once they click on it. Does that make sense?
It does. So we went through the semantics, and I know we've had every furry animal Google update possible: panda, penguin, hummingbird. We got mobile first, right? Like everything you could possibly imagine. I'm gonna share my screen just briefly. I'm gonna showcase a little bit of SEO history that I did. This is my funnest SEO project I did. I used to work for a company called atmix.com. So anybody that wants to pop this into your SEO tool of choice, Ahrefs, SEMrush, doesn't matter. You can guess my hire date on this chart right here, right there. And then all of a sudden, boom, goes up. I increased them by 10 million uniques. We did it through content production and targeted a lot of new keywords that the business hadn't focused on before. Only worked there 1 year, and then it kept its traffic even almost up to this point in day and age. So that was my fun SEO project. So I was nerding out with our guest today, and that's why I brought him on, because it's not every day you can talk to somebody who has been in the trenches in SEO as long as our incognito old SEO guy today. So I might have to call you OSG for short. So, all right. So give us, we're going to start taking Amazon questions about SEO here in about 5 minutes. So if you guys have some Amazon related questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. Before we do that though, what other SEO things do you think people need to know about before we talk Amazon?
Well, the final nail in the coffin for traditional SEO in this way was when Google decided that they weren't going to rank product pages very well, and they were going to kind of devalue the strength of exact match domains, right? So when that happened in 2012, I think it was the Panda update, actually. What wound up happening is that no individual owner of a website could actually rank. And so all the product listings that used to rank in SEO, now they only ranked Amazon as number one. And so over the next 2 years, what wound up happening was that Amazon became the default product search engine. Yeah.
And so that is that really when you feel like Amazon became the first place people started their product search versus using Google?
Absolutely. For about 2 years there, from 2012 to 2014, the only thing you could do if you were in product sales was move over to Amazon. That was basically, you would rank Amazon's page would rank #1 in Google, and then you hope that you ranked #1 in Amazon for that. And that was pretty much what you had to work with, really. Outside of that, and so once we jumped over into the Amazon space, and of course, like I pulled up, the first thing I did was pull up all the Amazon patents to look at them. And what I found in A9 was, wow, it was like wide open spaces. I mean, it was like, this is amazing.
So the A9 update, made PPC a little bit less valuable, told you had to do some organic stuff. We know SEO and PPC have a strong correlation to this day still, but it was interesting to, I've read the A9 update. What other takeaways have you had from reading some of the patents that Amazon has and the A9 update?
Well, what I really love about Amazon, this is like kind of this is the thing that I've come to really love about it. And in the beginning, it was hard for me coming from an algorithm, I don't want to say hacking, but algorithm focused perspective. The A9, I mean, it's like 80% customer behavior based. I mean, it is people focused inherently. And so I remember when we really turned our attention over to customer service, and we brought our customer service numbers up from, like, I think it was 87 to 99.4 or 99.7. I mean, our sales blew up because we treated the customers better and they liked us more.
So it went from keyword stuffing to customers first. Yeah.
Yeah, it went from keyword stuffing and like manipulation to like, no, look, if you just take care of people and you do it really and you do it genuinely, no, it'll reward you for it. And so, you can be a guy who's got a great product. You can go online, you can get in touch with some influencers, you can get excited about your product, you can drive sales over to that. And then if you treat your customers fairly and you treat Amazon fairly, right? Like, it does have to be a little bit of a love relationship with Amazon where you don't mind the FBA fees and you don't mind, all the other things that happen. And you understand that every time you survive an algorithm update, not all of your competitors will. 200,000 Amazon accounts, right? Last week with the Chinese reviews or something like that. Did you see that article?
So I think I might have missed this one. Tell us a little bit about
it. Yeah, it was on. I mean, I saw it just it was just some link on a news feed, but apparently Amazon found 200,000 accounts and millions of reviews and just blew them all out of the water because they were all, they had
you're talking about the linking. Right? You're talking about the linking scam. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I remember reading that one. So I think Amazon's getting more sophisticated, and it's not surprising to see a lot of the black hat stuff coming out of China.
Well, I disagree. Well, I don't disagree necessarily, but I disagree on this. If you look at the history of Amazon dealing with customer reviews, customer relations, they always deal with it in April and May. Every April, every May, there is a customer service.
Why do you think that is?
Reviews problem. Oh, it's because I would think, my opinion is that they tend to ignore it over the holidays. What are they going to do? Look at it while they're just crushing. So it's like the lull happens in February, March. Then they look at April, May. They say, well, what's currently being hacked, or what didn't go so well over the holiday season? They fix it over May, June, July. They implement a test date on Prime Day, and then they start gearing up for Cyber Tuesday and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's the health cycle that Amazon runs on now.
That cycle makes a lot of logical sense. So I think you might be right. All right, so we're going to start opening it up to questions from the crew. Almost all these questions are going to be about how to grow their SEO sales on Amazon. So here we go. MY says, is there a way to rank on Amazon slowly on an economic budget, or do we have to just go very aggressive when launching?
Yeah, the key, and I'll say my opinion, and then you can just say your opinion. But my opinion is basically go for the longest tail possible keyword you possibly can until you have a lot of money. I mean, you can hammer out a launch and you don't really care because you know what you're doing. If you don't have a lot of money, go for long tail keywords, ignore this whole honeymoon phase, gather up long tail keyword after long tail keyword, which will just and grow that baseline of BSR. Just get your stats going, get it all good. And then as your sales are growing from the long tail keywords, don't take any profits ever.
Throw it back into the
Just
business, roll it
reinvest
in.
it always. I think I've doubled down, put all the money back in the business. I think 4 or 5 times a year for 10 years.
So when do you take the profit at that point?
When you're really, really, really sick of your job, when you hate your job, your daytime job, more than you want to grow your Amazon business.
I really like that answer. I always tell people to at least side hustle Amazon a year before they go full time. All right, so I'm going to show my screen here. This is my newest product launch, Age of Sage, and it's interesting to watch the organic product indexing grow. So I always try and tell people to try and get 1,000 keywords indexed by day 30, if at all possible. We are at like week 3 and we're at 2,800. So we're crushing those numbers. It's been very good. One of the coolest things, I think this is the largest search volume keyword I've ever seen before, and it's Mother's Day gifts. It spiked to 5 million search volume during the month of May here. And even last year with the COVID bump, it was only 2.8 million. And 2 years before that, it was at 1 million. Have you ever seen a word spike above 5 million before?
I mean, no. Well, I've never actually really looked at it in that way. I mean, it's predictable because Amazon grows by 40 to 50% every year. So those 100% numbers
growth
make perfect sense.
On this particular category above and beyond the COVID bump last year. I was just really fascinated by that.
I mean, it makes sense because when people are, I mean, here's the way I look at it. When people are introduced to Amazon, they're almost always introduced to Amazon during a Christmas season. Thanksgiving, Christmas is when Amazon typically adds 20 to 40% to their customer base over the holidays. What winds up happening then is people start thinking holiday Amazon, because that's how they got there. And then over time they realize, Amazon's just everything. But the holiday thing for Amazon, I mean, there's nothing like it. I remember one year I did a Christmas term and I thought I was going to have enough stock based on, I think I made like 12,000 units.
Good problem to have when you stock out, no doubt.
Yeah, sold out in 4 days.
It's amazing to see the growth that happens for that. All right, so let's go to Daniel here.
I have no idea how you're keeping up with those.
Are there any SEO companies for small sellers, small businesses, small budget to launch products to optimize from zero, or outsource SEOs only for 7-figure sellers? What's your opinion?
Never outsource SEO, ever.
Of course, I'm
either you learn it, yeah, you learn it. It's black magic, man. If you pay somebody to do it, they'll just shackle you. Sorry. It's like hiring a mercenary to fight a war for you.
It's like hiring a mercenary to fight a war for you. Not everybody has time though, right? Like some people want to spend time sourcing and finding new products. But I agree. It makes sense to become an expert at something to grow your business. But all right, so our guest says don't export, Daniel. That's his advice. Let's go to our next question here. Nylon says, what's the number one thing you can do to maximize SEO on Amazon, especially on a product launch? What's your opinion?
Hold on. You faded out there on me. I'm going to see if I can get to a better cell signal here. What was the question?
So the number one thing you can do to maximize SEO on Amazon.
The number one thing you can do to maximize SEO on Amazon. Again, this goes back to the established company or not established. If you're established, you're allowed to do a lot of things that not established companies don't have. So like if you're established, you've got an email list. You've got a list of influencers. You know how to run your dynamic spend in Amazon. You know how to work in things like Facebook advertising, Google ad. You actually know how to do that. If you're brand new, you don't have any of that, and you got to do the long-term, long game thing. I think the best way to look at SEO on Amazon truly is like a video game. Like,
I
start
do
out,
like my video
you don't know
games.
anything. Yeah, I really think it's like a video game thing. Like you have to just be like, okay, I'm gonna start here. I don't know anything. I'm not gonna pretend like I know anything, and I'm gonna have to learn how to like cast fire for the, whatever. I'm gonna have to learn how to swing a sword. And Amazon really is interesting because if you just stick to it,
So
I
we're
guarantee it.
losing a little
But
bit
you
of
just have to give yourself the gift of time.
your
Hello?
connection seems to be getting worse as you're moving here. We'll give you a chance to get to a better spot. While you're doing that, I'm going to talk through kind of what I've been doing with my SEO. So I think, Nylon, I think the first thing you need to do, number one thing you need to do is make the search term field maximized, right? So if we were to use my product example right here, and we took Helium 10's Frankenstein tool, this is one of the best tools to do this with. If you export the keywords out of 10 top competitors and then run this Frankenstein report, the words that are at the top of this list will most likely be the most important keywords for your listing. So Mother's Day gifts from son, mom, mothers, and you don't need to keep the plurals and all of those other scenarios when you do upload the search terms because there's crossover. But notice how high the Spanish is on this. Regalos para mama, and I don't speak Spanish, but gift for mom is what that translates to. And so using something like this to see like what people are searching for and how to do that, there's an amazing opportunity to chase the search terms. And you guys saw it right here. There are millions of search volume terms here that I'm in the top of page 1 for. I'm rank 11 for Mother's Day gifts, a 5 million search volume term, and my product's 3 weeks old. So, and I did this when I only had one single product review. Now I've got 9 ratings that popped in by now, but only one product review when we were in the heat of things. All right, so I think we got a little bit better connection now with our SEO guest here today. What would you add? What's the number one thing you would do to maximize SEO on Amazon?
The number one thing I do, or I would suggest people to do, is to go for an evergreen of a product as humanly possible. So an evergreen product is one that it was popular before, it'll be popular later. And you can really build a business life that allows you to quit your job because you know that product will still be good in 2 years. And so if you want to get free from work or you want to get whatever, you got to get away from chasing too many trends, because
no fidget
trend,
spinners and no face masks, huh?
Correct. The danger is not if you lose. The danger in that one is if you win, because if you win, you'll, like, I won for a product. What was it, in January? Won for a product. That product, Amazon comes back to me and they say, great, you won. We want 72,000 units at $3 a unit. Amazon wanted me to front $280,000 of cold cash to fulfill their inventory requirements, right? That's if I win. So if you win for something crazy that's in the niche space like that, or in the trending space, you wind up having to shell out a lot of money. And if you're not a manufacturer, now you got to wait. And now that money is going to sit there for 8 weeks. Then you got to get it into the country. Then you got to get it to FBA. Then you got to get it to the FBA warehouses. And next thing you know, you're out 200 grand and it's 4 months later and you ran out of stock and now you have no rankings.
And then
I'll
the trend,
bet a lot of people have that before.
the trend could be back down by then. That makes sense. All right, let's go to William here. Exactly. I'm kind of a newbie on this SEO subject. What is the main difference between Amazon's search engine and Google's search engine?
Amazon search engine is almost entirely driven by customer behavior, and Google's search engine is almost entirely driven by how they predict you will respond when you get it. So Amazon's is based on predictive, what they think you're going to do. And Amazon's is based upon what millions of other people have already done. At least that's how I see it now.
I like that. I like that definition. William also asked, what is the most effective, efficient way to understand an algorithm? In this case, Amazon's algorithm besides testing.
Compassion. Got to have a lot of compassion for Amazon. You have to understand, what do they want? What do they want the customer to have? How do they want you to treat their customers? Get inside the mind of Amazon, and you will be much more likely to be able to interact with the algorithm in a wholesome way, not in a way where you're saying, I just want to manipulate this thing, I just want to beat it into the ground, but say, like, where you can say, look, like, I'm really thankful for FBA, I'm really thankful for the platform, and I want to honor this, and I want to do it the best I can, and I want to be a partner for Amazon, frankly.
So that's a very interesting take that a lot of people aren't doing what you just mentioned there, because it is easy to complain about things going on with Amazon. Very easy. All right. William also asked, how accurate is the search volume number provided by Helium 10? Should we base our PPC on this number? What's the best way to pick keywords when launching or relaunching a product? What's your take?
I'm a hard pass on the Helium 10 numbers.
Do you use a different tool to estimate?
No. I've just been doing this for so long. I just know.
You just ignore the data, then just go with your past knowledge, or?
I'm sorry, you broke up just a tad. What was that?
So are you using just your past knowledge then, or do you use any tools for your SEO targeting?
At this point in my life, the way it works for me is, I think the easiest one to kind of pull from is the Helium 10, numbers you need to sell for 8 days. That number has been, I think it's been about 80% accurate. That's the number I like if I'm going to, like, just, out of the blue kind of go for it. To me, one of the easiest thing to do is to look at reviews over time for a product. So you see how long a product has been ranking somewhere. Say they've been ranking there for a year. Look at how many reviews they've gotten. Look at how many reviews are in the space. And then you kind of do the percentage of reviews per sale. And then that'll kind of tell you a little bit, that'll give you a lot more data, I think, to work with. So if you're approaching a product that's, maybe like spatulas, well, of course, the top spatula is going to have 97,000 reviews or whatever, right? Because it's an evergreen space. So I like to look at, because when you launch a product, it's in relationship to the other products that are in the line, right, of what you're doing. So, the average product, does it have 4 stars? If you see a product page where the average page has 4 stars, the average product does, it means that no one has figured out how to solve that problem. That's a great space to be.
So Matt,
if you see, and you'll win.
So Matt, thank you for being a member of our YouTube channel. We're butting you ahead of the line because you're a member. Matt asks, are the first few words in the title the most important for Amazon SEO? I'm gonna take a stab at this one first. In my opinion, it no longer is as important because they no longer weight the front of the SEO title, at least on Amazon's side. But on Google's, the first 5 words can create a canonical URL. And that can help rank you in Google with your Amazon product listing. So that's my take. What's your take?
Yeah, I think brand name first, title afterward. I think Amazon wants to know that you're building something that they want to know that you're building a brand, not a product. I mean, think of them as a superstore. They want to host brands in their store. They don't want to host individual products all over the place. They want to be like, okay, well, here's the cereal aisle, and in cereal there's General Mills and there are 30 different cereals. That's how Amazon wants it to be. So the more you learn how to build something that allows for branding. So what I hate is when you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, I'm going to do micro drones and I'm going to do, Magic the Gathering type game, and I'm going to do, adult products. And you're like, dude, build a brand.
You'd be way better bet off long term if you build a brand. That's for sure. So DK kind of had similar question to Matt here. So if you take your own brand name, look at this. So my website comes up first, but Amazon comes up number 2 and number 3. So my Amazon store is canonically ranked for the term, as well as other things as well. So I think it does matter, DK Kim, especially for canonical URL ranking inside of Amazon. All right, let's go to RZA. Hi, I just launched my product and ran PPC for 5 days. Surprisingly, got ranked organic number 5 for a 13,000 search keyword, which I was targeting using a 2-step super URL. And now all of my sales are coming from that keyword, and my PPC campaigns are just burning money. Got me 0 sales so far. What would you recommend? Should I turn off all the useless campaigns and go heavy on that one keyword?
I'd like to talk to you about super URLs, actually.
Let's do it. So I think super URLs are a little diminished in the past year, but let's hear your take.
So I won't do super URLs at all. 0. I think they're dangerous. I think if you have an established brand like mine, you got a lot to lose. And so you wouldn't risk something like that with something that could just be, I've seen it before where the algorithm will just say, you know what, we think that this is not correct. And they'll just flip a switch, and everybody who's ever used it before is toast. So that's my take on them as far as like, once you've got something, it can be dangerous. On the other hand, you rank number 5. That's great. But remember that the way it works in the internet is that 50 to 60% of all sales go to number 1, 20 to 25 go to number 2, and 10 to 15 go to number 3. And there is not much left over for 4 through 5 or 4 through whatever. So until you get to 3, I think you got to just go strong with the PPC on the main product on the main keyword you're trying to rank for. Maybe grab a couple of peripherals just so that semantically you make sense categorically, like in the space. I mean, that's what I would say to do. But you?
I mean, I think I would struggle with this question because there's a lot of variables behind it, right? So like how many units remain? What's the budget? What's the margin numbers? So like a lot of those situations would affect the way I would answer this question. But by and large, if it's a new product, I would burn cash on it for at least 2 or 3 months. And I see no risk to doing that.
Yeah.
Let's go to Nylon here. I know PPC accounts for less than 10% of SEO. So how important is it to launch to drive those initial clicks and conversions? What's a reasonable PPC spend for a $15 to $20 sports equipment item? What's your take? I'll give my answer second.
Wow. First of all, what's the profitability on the $15 to $20 item? Are you making $6? Are you making, is it $2 to manufacture and you're making $18? That would be a huge component about whether or not, how hard you can push it. And then how long can you sustain the push, right? How long can you sustain? The longer you, in Amazon, look, the longer you can wait to take profits, the better off your ranking is going to be. The more PPC you put into it, the more external sales you can drive to it. And the longer you can just keep doing that, it'll stack. And so you'll find that you'll have products, like I've had some products that have ranked number 1 for 5 years, untouched. But we do spend quite a bit on PPC. I look at max spend of PPC not as an offensive maneuver. I look at it as a defensive maneuver. So once you're number 1, you just keep it. You just keep the max spend up. It just is what it is.
So that's a really interesting point that you just made there, keeping number 1 as a defensive measure on your PPC spend, because it can be extremely expensive. So that's really interesting. RZA says, great advice. Thanks, gentlemen. You're very welcome. Josh asks, does price factor into Amazon's search result rank directly, or just insofar as the price increase might change customer behavior, resulting in rank change? My belief would be is just the behavior, but what's your take?
Oh no, my take has a lot to do with so 3 prices in Amazon. You have the manufacturer's price, the list price, and the sale price, right? I have heard theories out there that say that the FBA percentage of money that you give to Amazon was it related off the sale price or the manufacturer's requested or suggested price? Do you know?
So we've got the 15% referral fee, right? And we have the FBA fees based on the logistics. Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah. Where does the 15%, where does Amazon derive? Is it from the list price?
Total. No, it's the total sold. So in the past, like 8 or 7 years ago, they used to calculate it based on the original price before any strike throughs, but now it's based on the actual money collected.
Okay. Okay. So my opinion about the FBA and pricing is just that you want to be the person who has the highest conversion with the correct amount of money you're giving to Amazon, right? So you don't want to be the most, you want to shoot to give Amazon more money per sale than anyone else on that category page.
So here is our last question for today. Cupcake Sprinkle says, omega-3 customers search all 3 spelling variations. Does a seller look bad if they're using spelling variations in the listing to capture most impressions?
Yeah, just get creative with your keywords, structure your titles correctly.
And so I'll give it a little bit on this one. So I would say have omega-3 probably 2 different ways in the title. And then in the bullets, use it the other ways. Put the misspellings in the search term field, behind the scenes, and the alt text. And like in your header bolded sections in your A+ content, you could do a different form versus what's in the copy versus what's in the bullet points. There's a lot of different ways you can get creative with that. All right, so that was our podcast today on the history of SEO. And we took a bunch of SEO questions. Before we leave our show today, any last parting thoughts?
Yeah, one last parting thought is this. First of all, don't look at algorithms like, frat guys look at hooking up. All right, like get into a relationship, stay committed. Don't look at just like grabbing a win and walking away. Like, trust me, you want to do this and you want to do it for a decade. Maybe you want to do it for 20 years. I've been doing it for 15 and I still love it. So treat the algorithms like you're in a relationship with them. Get to know them. Don't be so worried about getting what you want from them. Learn what they want from you, respond accordingly, and then find a way that you can behave in a manner that's authentic to you and honors what they're looking for. So you're in a relationship. All right.
That theory explanation is awesome because like not only did we get the frat reference, but it actually makes sense.
It is real. It is real.
Have a relationship with that algorithm, folks. All right, yeah. You heard it. At
the end of reading over 600 patents, I can tell you this: I have not read a patent in 5 years. Once I got into a relationship and stopped trying to figure it out, my business 10x'd in 3 or 4 years because I just decided to stop trying to beat it. Just decided to get into a relationship and be kind and have compassion for them and for me and for my customers. All right. That's what I got.
Well, perfect. Thank you, old SEO guy, for joining our podcast today. We will have our next episode on Friday at noon where you can ask any Amazon question every Friday, noon Eastern Standard Time. We'll let you go. You guys all have a great one. That was our SEO podcast today.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks.